Welcome back to another episode of the Draw Control podcast. On today's episode, I am joined by two players on the William and Mary women's lacrosse team. Sophomores Jaylin Locke and Marin Wilhelm have joined the podcast today. Let's start off with Marin. Last season, she finished the season with 26 saves and a 419 save percentage as she earned the CAA Commissioner's Academic Honor Roll distinction. And before college, Marin was a 2021 Highlighter All-Star team member and won the team's Nancy Sebeck Love Character Award, which is bestowed upon a teammate who shows great character and compassion for all of her teammates. Let's get to Jaylin Locke, who appeared in 16 games last season and had 5 college turnovers. Before college, Jaylin was a two-time third-team All-State selection member. She earned first-team All-League and All-County honors as a junior and a senior, and nominated for the North Jersey High School Girls Lacrosse Player of the Year twice during her time in high school. So thank you so much to both of you guys for coming on the podcast today. And how's everything going?
Good. Thank you for having us. First of all, we're super excited. We both heard about this podcast. We are super stoked to get on it. First time you messaged us. So yeah.
Well, obviously the summer is officially over now, but how was both of your summers? And did you guys get to do anything interesting, whether it was lacrosse related or not? Marin, I'll start off with you.
Yeah. So actually this summer, my parents both grew up in New Jersey, so we have a beach house in Cape May. So I got to lifeguard at the beach there, which was actually kind of a lot of work. I worked 6 days a week from 8 to 5 every day. So it was really good to like get me in shape for the lacrosse season, but also like I met a lot of great friends doing it. So it was a really cool experience.
And Jaylin, how about you?
I also have a house in Cape May, so I was down there quite a bit. Marin and I spent some time together down there, even though she's working all day. But we got time in together to spend together. Lots of training, also working at a local restaurant in my town, making some money to come back to school. So yeah.
Nice, nice. That sounds like a lot of fun. And obviously, in regards to training for the upcoming season, what are you guys wanting to work on, I guess, the most before the upcoming season? Jaylin, I'll start off with you for this question.
Yeah, just kind of fixing the technical things like stick work, extra training and lifting, stuff like that. And just building team chemistry with the freshmen that are coming onto our team as well, aside from training and the runs and lifting.
How about you, Marin? I've never had a goalie on before, so I'm curious what you guys work on during the summer. It must have been nice to have Jaylin with you, though, during that time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's great that I'm the first goalie. I would just say like going into like this coming season and fall ball, like my main focus last year as a freshman was just kind of like to get acquainted with the team and like, get used to like the new shots. Like obviously people shoot it way faster than they did in high school. But now as a sophomore, I would say like my focus is like to more like niche things. So like I'm working on like taking time on the clear and building chemistry with like the defense, and more like technique wise, like some things. And then over the summer, like I did some work with my goalie coach at home. And then also, I don't know if you've heard of Goalie Smith. I went to their camp for a couple of days. So that was definitely really helpful to get me ready for this year.
And Jaylin, how about you?
For which question? Sorry.
Just what'd you work on, I guess, in regards to training for the upcoming season?
Yeah, just a lot of conditioning, getting out to the field, definitely stick work, getting on the wall the most I can, working on my stick skills. Yeah.
So, Marin, I want to ask you this question. So, obviously, you guys have sort of started officially practicing as a team based on your social media. So, my question is like, what do you guys work on in the fall to sort of get ready for the upcoming spring year?
Yeah, so our fall is definitely more like conditioning, weight training, stuff like that, and just like more intense practices. Obviously, in season, we don't want to like overtrain, and get sore and stuff. So right now we're in 20-hour weeks. We actually have been playing like some weekend tournaments. So we practice Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We lift from 12 to 1, and then from 1 to 3 we play lacrosse. And then on Tuesday, Thursday, we practice from 6 to 8 a.m. So, just a lot of like reps, I would say, is like the focus in the fall for us.
And I know Jaylin was mentioning that you guys have sort of tried to build that connection with the freshmen. So how have the freshmen been like so far from your experience with them, and how have they acclimated themselves to the team?
They're great. I think they blend in very well. Our coach is very good at recruiting and picking people that will fit in greatly with our team. So they're great. We love them. It's such a family here at William and Mary. So
Now, Jaylin, I wanted to ask you this question, but obviously, what are your team's goals and expectations for the upcoming season? Obviously, you guys had a really good year, really making a step forward in the program. So, how do you guys hope to build off that for this upcoming season?
yeah, we came into this fall kind of talking about how we just want to start where we ended last year and build off of that. To go into the really hard games that we have, like Maryland or Penn, and to really just compete against them and be in those games all the time and to win the games we won last year.
So, I now want to transition and talk about the beginning of your guys' careers and sort of work all the way up to where you are today with William and Mary. So, Marin, we'll start off with you. So, you're from Parkton, Maryland. Talk about growing up there and how did you start playing lacrosse?
Yeah. So my parents met at Loyola in Maryland. So they kind of just stayed in Maryland. And then when neither of them had played lacrosse or really like heard about it until they came to Maryland. But when I was in like first grade, I started playing just because everyone in Maryland plays lacrosse. Like it's just kind of like what you do. So I played rec and I played indoor, and pretty much as soon as I started playing indoor, like, all the coaches tell you like, oh, you have to play goalie this game and like just rotate the girls in. But like pretty much as soon as like I started playing goalie, I just like found that it was like I was the only one who wasn't really afraid of the ball. So I kind of just kept like nominating myself to play goalie. And then I found that I actually like really liked it. So I kind of just kept with that. And then my area, like Hereford, was a pretty good like lacrosse area. So the girls around me like motivated me to like keep playing. So that's kind of why I started playing.
And Jaylin, you're from Ridgewood, New Jersey. So, how did you start playing lacrosse and falling in love with the sport?
Yeah, I think my town also is like a pretty big lacrosse area. We win a lot of like the Bergen County championships, all that stuff, pretty much every year consecutively. So I grew up going to watch those as a kid. I did play a couple sports here and there. I played basketball, I ran track. So it wasn't always just lacrosse for me, but definitely was my favorite. I played since third grade. So I started playing attack actually in third grade, and I played midi all the way up until high school when I really started to fall in love with defense and played defense all the time.
And I want to ask, are you still a basketball fan now? Do you still like watching the sport?
I do. I will say I like football a little bit more than basketball, but I still love basketball. I play with my dad a lot when I go home.
Nice, nice. Who's your favorite NFL team?
Right now, I'm gonna say the Giants, even though they're not doing that great. But I am a strong New York team fan, so Giants or Jets for sure.
So you're not going to be a huge fan of me because I'm a huge Boston sports fan. So I know that rivalry is very intense, but I'll just give all Boston sports a shout out on this podcast just because it's been a little bit downhill for both the Sox and Pats right now. But hopefully the Bruins can make things a little bit better this October when their season begins.
We'll see.
Now, growing up, did you guys watch any lacrosse? And if so, who were some of your favorite players and teams? I guess, Jaylin, I'll start off with you with this question, then Marin can follow up.
Yeah, I think the general probably answer for both of us would maybe be like Maryland. Like I grew up watching them a lot just because their name was everywhere. They were the best team for a very, very long time. So I grew up watching them. Basically, that was my favorite team for a while.
Yeah, for me, kind of like I said, ties into what I was saying about my parents earlier. Like my dad and I would always go to the Loyola men's and women's lacrosse games, like just because it was like 20 minutes from my house, like so easy. And then my main like favorite players are always goalies. I never really like I mainly just watched the goalies just to like, work on technique and like, what should I be doing? So my main favorites were Molly Wolf and then Jacob Stover, who like Jacob like trained me when I was in middle school. And then it was kind of funny because I ended up being in his brother's class at McDonough, so he and I became good friends. So, yeah.
And Marin, before college, you played for, like you mentioned, McDonough School. What was it first off like to play for Taylor Cummings, who's obviously a legend in Maryland, but also just talk about your overall high school lacrosse experience and sort of what you took away from it and how do you think it helped prepare you sort of for college?
Yeah. So I only went to McDonough for high school. So coming in, like we had so much talent on the team. Like between varsity and JV, it was just like I was just surrounded by like so many good players. I think we had 14 girls in my graduating class go D1 for lacrosse. So it was just like, obviously so many good players. When I came in, there were two D1 goalie commits who were juniors. So obviously, like, that left me not really like being able to play on varsity, which at first, like, I saw as a setback, but then quickly realized, like, it was better off for me to get those reps with that JV team, which was still really, like, beneficial to me. And then as soon as COVID was kind of over, my junior year, playing with Taylor was just like such a good experience. She obviously knows the game so well, so she knew how to coach us. She held us all at like pretty high expectations, but it's just because she knew like what talent we had as a team. And she like did everything to make sure that each of us were like as well coached and like improved as and prepared for college as possible. So like one thing I'd say I struggled with was like my confidence, like junior year mainly. And she just like always like made sure that I was like more like building my confidence and like prepared to this point where now I'm playing in college and I feel like much more confident than I did then in high school.
And Jaylin, same sort of question for you. You played for your high school in Ridgewood, so talk about your high school lacrosse days and sort of what you took away from it and how it's helped prepare you for college now.
Yeah, my high school was a pretty good high school in my area. So, like I said before, I grew up watching all their games. Their name was everywhere and all the newspapers when I was a kid. So, growing up, it was really cool to be in that environment and to be in the competitive environment playing with them. We had a couple D1 athletes. People go to BC, USC, those really good schools. So that was pretty cool to play with them as well. My sophomore year, I was coached by Christy Foote. She played on the Canadian national team and coached for Florida for a couple of years. So she was my coach for junior year. I definitely learned a heck of a lot from her, just like Marin, like confidence building, helped me a lot with that. And even though still working on the confidence as a student athlete, it's never easy. It definitely started junior year of high school for me with that. Senior year, I was a captain on my team. It was so fun to lead the girls and to lead such a talented group of people and to be in that environment where I'm just fighting every single day, working every single day, and everyone is just on 100 at all times.
And how do you sort of work on that confidence part? Because obviously, I feel like it's easy to sort of lose confidence because it can sort of be a play that does that for you. But it's also very hard to build up confidence because it can take a few games. I'm curious how both of you sort of work on that aspect of your game. I'm assuming it's an ongoing thing throughout every season that you have.
Yeah, for sure. I think, just like you said, it's ongoing. It's super easy if one bad thing happens to kind of have a dwell in your confidence here and there. But I think that we have amazing coaches and amazing people around us and support around us to help us keep that confidence up and to keep reminding us of the player that we are. Yeah.
Now, this is a question for both of you. I'll start off with Marin. What's your favorite high school lacrosse memory that you have?
Um, so I'd probably have to say my junior year we played NDP Notre Dame Prep in the semifinals for the IAM, and the IAM is like obviously a really competitive lacrosse conference. So it was a very high pressure game, and I was a junior, so it was my first time like starting on varsity. Um, so for me, I was like, as a goalie, like that's just like a lot of pressure. But to have that much pressure on you and then to win a game, we won by one. So like win a close game. And then I would say for me, like this kind of ties in with the confidence thing, like to then be in a competitive conference where you're getting newspapers written about you, and then to read that is like, just like such a good feeling. But I would say the best part about that game was like just the community part. Like we just had such a fun time as a team, like winning that game. So.
And Jaylin, how about you? What's your favorite high school lacrosse memory?
I would say the county tournaments we played in. Our team has won, I think now 17 consecutive years of our county
Wow.
tournament. So to play in those, it's big crowd. A lot of people come out. We usually play against Northern Highlands. That's usually our biggest rival. So I would say that was one of my favorite games my senior year was that county tournament. It was just the energy was great. Everyone was fighting for each other. Score was super close. Eventually came out with the win in the end. It was super fun, and just the environment was great.
17 years. That's crazy. That's almost as old as me, pretty much. So
Yeah.
now here's another question for both of you. So obviously you guys both decided to go to William and Mary to play lacrosse. So talk about your recruiting process and what made you want to play there versus other schools you might have looked at. Marin, I'll start off with you, and then Jaylin, you can follow up.
Yeah. So through my recruiting process, obviously, it's easy to realize that a lot of like you got to figure out what you want. Like a lot of teams have, good programs, good solid players, good lacrosse teams, good academics. For me, what really compelled me to come here was the people and the academics. Just the team's culture is just so unlike any other team that I've seen or even like talked to. Just everyone is just like so bought in, and literally everyone belongs. So I would just say the culture of the team, and then also just like such a academically focused school is what really compelled me to come here.
And Jaylin, how about you?
Literally pretty much the same answer as Marion. I really focused on in my recruiting process having a good degree after school, making sure that my academics are still doing well as I'm playing a sport that I love to play with the people that I love to be around. I can say confidently that I made 40 sisters after joining this team. And I think that a very big part for me from the recruiting process was my coach, Colleen. She was a person that really drew me in. Was super personable, cared more about the person outside of the lacrosse player, which I can't say a lot of other colleges do. So she was very good at drawing people in and making them feel at home and making them feel welcome.
Yeah, and do you guys remember the first time both of you guys met? I wanted to just ask since I had both of you on the pod.
I think it was on a Zoom call.
I think, yeah, probably on a Zoom call, but in person we did like the committed games together. So like we met each other then, but I think it was on a Zoom call.
It was on a Zoom call,
Yeah.
yeah, because our recruiting year was kind of during COVID as well.
Yeah.
So like I actually didn't go to a lot of William and Mary camps either because it was during COVID year. So we were doing tournaments. And the tournaments at that time were like there were no draws, so it was alternate possession every single time, stuff like that. So we did a lot of Zoom calls as our class.
Yeah.
Throughout that like end of the year, October through December.
And obviously, as a defender, you have to build up the chemistry with your goalie. So how did that sort of work with both of you?
I think we both play at like a high caliber, a fast speed. I think we have been since high school. So tell me if I'm wrong, but I think we just kind of click when we're playing because we both came from a very competitive high school. We both like to get the ball out fast, play fast, and play at like a high caliber speed.
And then obviously outside of lacrosse, we're like inseparable.
Yeah.
So that kind of like Jaylin's the only defender in our class, and I'm the only goalie in our class. So I don't even know how it happened, but we just became very close because of it.
Yeah.
So now, Marin, this question's for you. As a freshman, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make to college lacrosse?
Yeah. So as I said, like obviously I felt really good coming in freshman year. Like I played against some of the best players in high school, but I would say like the one thing that is really different in college is just the speed of the game. Adjusting to like the speed of shots, like people will literally shoot from anywhere, where I feel like in high school it wasn't the same. So I think just like the main adjustment for me was, seeing high speed shots. It took me a couple weeks to get adjusted to, for sure.
And Jaylin, obviously you guys play in the CAA conference, so just talk about what it's like being a part of the CAA and just the competition that you face each game.
I think personally, I think it's a super underrated conference. I think we have a lot of good teams in our conference, especially Stony Brook just joining. I think it's a good competitive environment. I think we all have very good teams and very good coaches on our side. It's always a competition whenever I'm playing a CAA team. Yeah.
Now, obviously, both of you guys haven't had improved significantly throughout your freshman seasons. So, Marin, I'll start off with you. What would you say is the biggest improvement you've made to your game so far during your college career?
I would say just like ability to like work with and like play with a team. I would say like chemistry with the defense is obviously a big thing, and I think from high school to college I really like worked on my communication. So like communicating with the defense and just kind of like improving my lacrosse IQ too, like with watching film and stuff. I think that's one thing that I've really improved on is like kind of understanding what is happening with the defense, how to direct them more specifically. And then, like I said earlier, like just seeing more reps has helped me to be like quicker uh, to the ball.
And Jaylin, talk about the biggest improvement you think you made to your game.
Yeah, I think going off of Marin, like the teamwork aspect of it, I think in high school it's very individual more so for defenders. It's mainly like a man defense mainly in high school. So I think coming into college and being exposed to multiple different type of zones and other type of defenses maybe forced me to work together more, be more of a team player. So definitely just building the chemistry with my teammates.
Now, this question's for Marin. How would you evaluate your team's performance this past season?
Yeah. So obviously, as you said, we did significantly better this past season than we have previously, which for Jaylin and I was awesome coming in as freshmen, and being able to know that our class made an impact and that what Colleen's doing is like obviously working. I think I could say this on behalf of like the whole team to say that we were excited about how we did last year, but from seeing how we did in fall ball and how we did in practices and what our 100% does look like in practice, we know that we can do so much better than even what we did last season with an impressive season for us. I think we, I think some of our goals are to, be in the CAA tournament, and I think that we can make it to the CAA championship with our talent. So.
Now, Jaylin, this question's for you. Obviously, you guys both go to a really good academic school. So, how have you guys learned, I guess, for you, Jaylin, how have you learned to sort of balance both academics and lacrosse at such a high level?
Yeah, we have a ton of smart girls on our team, really academically driven team. So during the recruiting process, Colleen would talk a lot about how our team activity for the night would be to go to the library, which is actually where we are right now. It's honestly a fun place for our team. So I feel like it's not even any more of like a balancing school and lacrosse. Like going to the library at night is like a team activity for us. So like studying is like an ingrained part of my day almost every single day on this team, and we find it fun, which a lot of people find hard to understand, but we find it fun to sit in the library and study and talk and get down to work, and we all apply each other for our academic accomplishments as well.
Now, the last question I want to ask both of you before we get to the non-lacrosse segment, and I'll start off with Marin for this one, is what's like your favorite moment from your William and Mary lacrosse career so far?
I would say that is so hard because we had so many exciting games last year, but I would say for me personally, like I I had a lot of fun in our last year's GW game. Obviously, I was able to be in goal for part of that game, so obviously that was exciting for me. And then we were down by 5, and we came back to win by 1 in the end. So that was just like a fun game for me because it's literally the story of what we are as a team right now, like completely the underdogs, and then just came back and were able to win by 1. So that was exciting for me because it just shows like what we can do coming forward.
Jaylin, is that your favorite collegiate lacrosse memory so far, or is there another game in mind for you?
That's probably one of them. I think my favorite might be the Hofstra game or the Delaware game. Definitely Delaware game because that was overtime. We got into a lot of overtime tiffs in our season, which is something that we're not very proud of and hoping to work on for next season. But definitely the Delaware game, winning in overtime with Justice Barber's shot, which was really cool. So that was probably my favorite game.
Hey, at least you're winning those overtime games, which is I feel like is something positive to say. So I would be proud of that, at least for me, but maybe I'm a little too positive on myself sometimes. So um, but we're now in a segment I like to call five questions that have nothing to do with sports with Marin and Jaylin. And the goal of the segment is to hopefully get to know you guys a little bit more off the field. And I'm excited to do this with two people because I feel like it'll be a fun dynamic as well. So first one is, if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself and why?
Should we both answer?
Yeah, yeah.
Need a second to pick.
So one of my favorite shows growing up was Friends. So what I initially would want to say, just because I honestly don't really know many actors or actresses, is Jennifer Aniston. Just because I feel like she's a very like versatile actress, but then also I consider myself sometimes goofy, sometimes serious, sometimes ditzy. So I think that she would like, you know, play my role well.
Agree. Yeah. First of all, sorry, I'm very congested, so I don't know if like
Oh, it's fine.
right, but the show Gilmore Girls, I don't know what her actual name is, but probably the mom Lorelai Gilmore. I would probably want her to play my character. I think she's like sarcastic. That's kind of like my humor.
hmm
She's just out there and is fun. So I'd probably have her
Yeah,
play
I'd say for
me.
me, probably Ryan Reynolds. I think that would be fun just because I can brag to people saying that he played me in a movie, even though we really don't look too much alike. So I'd probably go with him. So next question is, what is the most underrated holiday and what's the most overrated holiday?
Overrated holiday, St. Patrick's Day. I I just don't know why people like go out for it, but and then underrated holiday, I'm gonna say is Easter.
My I would agree with St. Patrick's Day. I didn't even think of that one, but that was a good one. I feel like a lot of people, get a little too excited for it, which I don't know. And then uh, underrated, probably Thanksgiving,
Yeah,
because I mean I even do this. I start decorating for Christmas before Thanksgiving even happens. So, but Thanksgiving is a great holiday. So I would say Thanksgiving.
now I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about this one, but who do you think has the best off the field style on the team?
Oh God, that's a hard one too.
I I think Justice Barber has great style.
Yeah.
She just always looks put together. Even when she's playing, she has great style.
I'm gonna say Anna Dawson or Kathleen Causey. They have like the athleisure style
hmm
going on with that.
Jalen, I think you might have the best style on the team personally for me, just because I don't know. I think I feel like this uniform and vibe just I feel like I don't know, maybe it's the number. I don't know. I just feel like you might have the best style on the team. But I feel like Marin, you're probably close second because the
Well,
goalie stuff looks really cool. Which obviously when you see on the field, I feel like it's a lot different than the other players, so it makes yourself stand out a lot more.
yeah, thank you.
Well, next non-lacrosse question is, what's the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
Mine is I'm a pretty big fan of Taylor Swift, so she came out with her like track titles for 1989 Taylor's version, which is just like the names of what the songs are going to be from the vault. But I saw the titles, which was probably interesting, like probably one of the most interesting things I've seen
Yeah.
all week.
I would say we watched the movie Kelsey on our trip to St. James about Travis Kelsey and Jason Kelsey, I think his name is. But if you watch that movie, I think that was probably the most interesting thing I've seen. It's a really good movie.
Yeah, I definitely got to watch that. I've seen it on my queue on my thing. I'd say for me, just what's going on with Colorado and Deion Sanders. I just think that's pretty interesting, sort of how he's turned around that team and just sort of the motivation that he's sort of put on his players. I think it's pretty inspiring and definitely motivational for myself to do well. So that'll be probably my most interesting thing I've seen this week.
Nice.
So let's get back to some lacrosse questions now. I'll ask both of you guys this. What should be done to help grow women's lacrosse? Marin, I'll start off with you and then Jaylin, you can follow up.
Yeah. So obviously when I think about growing lacrosse, I think of like both in places and then like across demographics. So I think it's spreading on the West Coast pretty quickly in the past couple of years, which is great. We actually on Wednesday we played a team from Japan. They came to play and they're coming to play a bunch of teams from Virginia. So that was pretty cool to like talk to them, and they're actually really talented. And they all are very passionate about lacrosse. So I was really impressed that it's already been, that they were as successful as they were, and that it's been like spread that quickly to them. But then I also think it's important, and it needs to be a focus for us in the lacrosse community to spread it to people who maybe aren't able to afford like paying for playing for club teams and stuff like that. So I think that's also important to spread awareness about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say just making the sport more diverse. That's definitely something that I'm very, very passionate about. I got the chance to attend the Black Student Athlete Summit, and it was in California on the campus of USC with a bunch of different student athletes from different colleges all around the world. And we got to talk about our issues with diversity in our schools and our sports. And I think lacrosse in general is a predominantly white sport. So I think I just would love to see more diversity and spreading off of what Marin said, making things more accessible to play lacrosse all across the globe. I know Harlem Lacrosse does a lot of donations, and they're a pretty big vessel for that. So I would love to work with them in the future. I've been in course with them for a little bit about figuring something out with them, and just seeing diversity grow throughout the sport.
Yeah, no, I was talking to a player sort of about growing women's lacrosse, and they sort of said something similar to you, Jaylin, sort of like how important it is to have more diversity in lacrosse because I think people don't realize how just how big it is to see someone that looks like them play the sport that they love. And just that inspires a lot more people to want to play. And I just feel like that's super important. And I feel like obviously the stuff like you guys want to do and are doing will help make that happen. So I just thought that was pretty interesting to hear from that player's perspective, but also to hear you echo it as well and just how important it is. And hopefully that there's a player that watched you play and sort of wants to play it now because of sort of the big things that you're doing with your career.
Yeah, that's my hope. That's all pretty much what I play for right now. I'm just hoping that it'll sprout out more with the years to come in everywhere, all over the globe. Yeah.
Now, before we end this interview today, do you guys have any shout outs you want to give to your family members, teammates, and friends? And who should we have on the podcast next? Whoever wants to start this off, I'll let you guys decide amongst yourselves with that.
Shout outs. I'm gonna shout out our coaching staff. We just hired a new coach, Evan. Shout out Coach Evan to you because he's new. He's great. Shout out Coach Jenny because Jenny's back. Love you, girl. Who I would like to see on the podcast next is this is probably what a lot of people say, but Charlotte North. That'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see her. What's her name? The girl that went to Clemson and just transferred. Sophia. I don't know her last name. She used to play at Clemson, just transferred. Her name is Sophia. I think her last name starts with a C.
All right.
From Clemson. I'd like to see her in here too.
I would say shout out to my family for helping me get to this point. And then my goalie coach, I'm basically second mom. Her name's Megan Huther from home. She actually now coaches at McDonough. But and then I would like to see my friend Maggie Tiding. She's a senior goalie at Hopkins. I would like to see her next on the podcast.
Awesome.
Obviously Charlotte North as well would be pretty cool.
I have one more shout out
Yeah.
my family. Oops, sorry. Love you, mom. Love you, dad. Love you guys. Thanks for everything you've done. My brother, my sister. And I would also like to see Claire McCooey from Richmond Lacrosse on this podcast.
Well, definitely reach out to those people and see what happens. Charlotte North might be a little tough, but hopefully we can grow this platform and one day that'll happen. But I just want to say thank you so much to both you, Marin and Jaylin, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. I think you guys are great people and even better players as well. So I just want to let you know that. And it was super fun getting the chance to talk with you guys today and meet with you guys as well. So thank you so much for doing this for me. It means a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
I had a great time. Well, thank you so much for having us.